JFD, just fair and direct.
Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 10th of July 2020, so we have welcome everyone. Welcome to this Friday's afternoon live session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff, just to see how everything's kind of getting along before the closing, well, before the US opening bell, and of course later on the closing bell of Europe. But as always, guys, before we jump into the charts, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then, also just before we jump into the charts, as always, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which we also update on a daily basis. So yep, feel free to visit us here on jfdbank.com and click on the research tab right there on the top. Now then, let's quickly have a look at some of the instruments that I looked at this morning. So the first one I want to touch on is the German DAX. The index so far is pushing into the positive territory for the day. Let's see if it manages to stay here. However, the big question here will be, if we look at the weekly candle, will this index be able to get back into positive territory for the week? Somehow it seems that it might not be the case. So, however, of course, let's not over speculate on this one too much. For now, basically what we're looking here for, of course, is how this weekly candle will shape up, and the most important here is, will it actually eventually stay above this upside support line? Now, for now, I mean, it seems that most likely there is a chance for this one to kind of remain above this upside support line taken from the low of the 19th of March, and in a way, as long as it stays above this upside line, then yes, of course, there is still a chance for this one to drift higher. Now, as I mentioned before, in a way, we are kind of looking at this potential scenario where we could see the index kind of drifting a little bit lower, testing this upside line, and then rebounding and pushing higher. But for those who are more on the cautious side, you could keep an eye on this barrier here, the highest point of June, near the 12,913 territory, and a nice good break above it kind of would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and maybe more buyers could be joining in here. So that's why, if you wish, you can stay neutral for now, just kind of observe these levels, as I said, the 12,913 zone on the upside, and this upside line, because if this upside line gets broken, then of course this kind of increases the chances for this index to drift lower. However, to get a little bit more comfortable with further declines, we would prefer to wait for a drop below the 11,957 territory right here, marked by the low of the 25th of June. Now, jumping into Nasdaq 100. Now, this index yesterday created a new all-time high. It seems that every day for this index is a new all-time high, well, almost every day. Of course, now the only little issue here is, if we look at the cash index is currently balancing not far from the kind of close of yesterday. It will be quite interesting to see actually if in the next where will this index open up, and if it opens up a little bit lower here than the yesterday's close, then maybe we could be getting ourselves a possible island reversal here, from if we're speaking from the technical side, because similar story happened here in the DAX. For example, here we had a nice island reversal and the index kind of drifted lower, and this is what I was talking about on Monday. Basically then we can have something similar. We might have something similar here. However, it probably is not going to be as clear as on the DAX, because Right now, as I said, the price is currently balancing around 10,750 zone, so that's why we'll remain very careful. But if we do see maybe in the next, let's say, 10 minutes, if the price somehow does get much lower and we do get a nice little opening gap here to the downside, then yes, there is a possibility to see a better kind of reversal here to the downside. But again, let's not over speculate on this too much. In a way, what we could do here is in terms of the downside, we could keep an eye on the low of yesterday near the 10,575 mark. A nice good drop below this could open the door towards a bit of a larger correction. And the reason why I'm saying correction, because we're still above this upside support line taken from the low the 21st of April. And in a way, I do understand we can draw several upside lines here, but if we, let's say, pick up on this one, let's say from the low the 23rd of March and drag it this way, then this could be a little bit of a more of a tentative one than this one that I had previously here. Because still this could be, as you can see, even if this slightly steeper upside line gets broken, the bulls still have a chance to kind of step in somewhere near this upside line, because we have a little bit more touches than on this one right here. So that's why the downside scenario from the short-term perspective, we would consider that that idea if we get a drop below the 10,575 territory, which is the low of yesterday, but from maybe a little bit of a larger perspective, of course, a break of this upside line would be needed. Not this one, but this one right here, and that's taken from the low of the 21st of April. Now jumping into gold, gold is pushing nicely to the upside again, and this is what I was talking about this morning. Basically was saying that as long as this upside line stays intact, then yes, there is still a chance for this one to drift higher. This morning we saw the commodity, kind of the precious metal, drifting lower, but found support near this 1796 territory, or 1795 territory, which is near the high of 2012. This is where the support happened yesterday as well. So yep, today we're having a nice rebound and a push higher. Of course, given that we have already kind of moved a lot already to the upside, we would prefer to take it carefully and maybe a push above the high of this week, the current high of this week, because we cannot really say that it's the highest point because, well, the day is not finished yet. So that's why we'll be very careful right here, and if we get a nice push above this 1818 territory, then yes, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and maybe higher levels could be met here. Of course, a break of this upside line could, in a way, open the door towards lower levels, but if we do see something like that, then yes, I'll reevaluate everything again. Similar stories in silver. Silver is moving nicely to the upside. It is now at least it seems like it's trying to aim for the highest point of this week, and this level here, the highest point of February of this year. So and that level, the highest point of February, is near the 18.94 territory. Of course, we can see that this week we had an overshoot above that level, and the the precious metal tested the area just slightly above that $19 mark, near the 19.04, and then drifted back down. So in a way, it seems that the price could kind of end the week somewhere here above this short-term upside support line taken from the low of the 7th of May, but maybe below this the high of this week. So if it does something like this today, then well, all the action, probably prepare for all the action next week. We'll see how if it can actually get either above the 1904 zone, or maybe it can break this upside line. USDJPY. Now, I think this one is a little bit of a tricky one. So the pair did try to push higher. It did move above the 74.47 level. I talked about this one, but it failed to move further north and started reversing lower. And you can see that the rate is now kind of, well, was already kind of drifting lower. It did drift lower initially, tested the 21-day EMA, which again acted as a nice area of support. As you can see here, previously, for example, in the end of June, this 21-day EMA kind of kept on providing support. The same story happened today as well. The pair drifted lower, tested this 21-day, and then rebounded back up. Slightly below that, we do have this upside support line taken from the low of the 2nd of April. So in a way, as long as it kind of stays above this upside line, then yes, there is still potential for this one to move higher. However, if you are more a little bit on the cautious side, what you could do is keep your eyes on this 75.16 level, which is the high of this week, and the nice pop above this in a way could open the door towards the highest point of June near the 76.79 level. In terms of the downside, well, I mean, of course, if we do get this upside line, probably I'll reevaluate this again if we do see a break of this upside line, because we want to see, I would like to see how this pair behaves around here, because this could be a bit of a tricky territory. Yes, the rate would be below this upside line, but it would still be above this 200-day EMA. So that's why, as you can see here by this arrow, the downside and the more comfortable downside scenario is from somewhere around the 71.92 level. But again, like I said, I'll reevaluate this again if we do get this break. Now jumping into USD-CAD now, excuse me guys, so today, let me just quickly double check the calendar. So yes, today we got the already got the Canadian employment numbers, which came out, well, the unemployment rate came out slightly worse than expected, but the employment change was on the better side, so more jobs created. So however, the unemployment rate has increased. Now looking at this picture here, we can see that the USD-CAD, for example, did try to make its way higher, but as I mentioned this morning, we need to see at least a push above the 1.3624 territory in order to get a little bit more comfortable with higher levels, but that did not happen, and yep, the pair started drifting back down and now currently balancing near its 200-day EMA. So of course, we'll continue monitoring this. These are the two levels that were after a break of which we could consider some further directional moves. So for the downside, the same area remains, the same breakout area remains valid. The 1.3488 zone, a nice good drop, and ideally a daily close below this area could do the trick for more sellers, and we could then aim for the lowest point of June. But in terms of the upside, short-term upside, yes, a push above the 1.3624 territory could open the door towards some higher levels, but let's not forget that we are still trading below this downside line taken from the high of the 31st of March, so that's why the upside might get limited near this downside line. GBPUSD, very quickly on this, so the pair is trying to make its way above the 1.8137 territory. I talked about this pair this week, and I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this barrier first, because as you can see previously, it acted as a very nice area for resistance. So the same story was up until yesterday, and it also acted as a strong resistance, but today we are seeing a nice pop above this. And in a way, for now, you can see that the bulls are really trying hard to kind of get this one higher. For now, the pair is trading above this barrier, so in a way, everything's kind of looking a bit more positive than negative. Then, yes, of course, if it stays here today, for example, then our next target could be near this level right here, near the 1.8452 territory marked by the high of the 12th of June. And of course, then we would take it from there, because it's a nice target here. Could get a hold of the pair could get a hold of somewhere here, and maybe then could correct lower. But again, that's in the scenario if we do get this daily candle staying today above this 1.8137 territory. And finally, Euro USD. So the pair, as you can see, working out nicely according to everything what I was talking about this morning, because what I was saying that in a way, if this rate still stays above this downside line, then there is a possibility for the pair to kind of reverse and push higher. For now, you can see that the this downside line did act as a nice trampoline, and the pair is now pushing higher. However, we would prefer to wait for a push above the 1.1353 territory, somewhere around here, as I've mentioned before, in order to get a little bit more excited about higher levels. And ideally, we would like to see at least the daily candle staying above this area, because yesterday, for example, we had an overshot, but as you can see, this is what happened. The rate then sharply kind of fell to the downside, but still remained above this downside line and above the 21-day EMA. So still, like I said, I would say that we're a little bit maybe neutral, maybe too cautiously bullish here, but we would like to see that pop above this barrier, the 1.1353, ideally a daily close above it, in order to kind of aim for some higher levels. Now, okay guys, I really hope you found it useful. So this was a quick one, and yep, I hope, like I said, you'll have a wonderful weekend, guys. Stay safe, both health-wise and market-wise, and yep, we'll pick up on all these instruments and some new ones on, well, next week on Monday. So yep, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Stay safe, guys, and I'll see you later. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.